Pressure is mounting on British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to calm what's become the worst rioting in the UK in over a decade. Protests broke out after the stabbing of 3 young girls last week in the northwestern town of Southport. Misinformation about the suspects' background on the internet has fueled anti-Muslim and anti-immigration protests, many of which have turned violent. Some of the worst scenes Sunday were in Rotherham in northern England, where masked rioters smashed several windows at a hotel that's been used to house asylum seekers. We're going to talk more about all of this now with our UK correspondent, Benedicte Paviot. Benedicte, what more can you tell us?
Well, it's been a very tense weekend ever since that murder, effectively, stabbing and then murder of these 3 little girls aged between 6 and 9 in Southport last week. So a week ago exactly today, 400 arrests have now been made over the weekend. That is a huge increase. The last figure we had is 150. Rioters are beginning to appear in various courts around the UK. Of course, we've seen huge violent problems and destruction of attempted destruction of buildings, attacks, for example, in Rotherham, as you mentioned, against a hotel housing immigrants that were asylum seekers that were in and looking out the window and watching these protesters trying to set fire to the building. Police regained control, although some rioters managed to get in. What we're witnessing is police saying that they are tirelessly now going through footage because they have filmed many of these violent clashes with them in various towns and cities across, certainly in the northeast, for example, and northwest of England, but also in Belfast. In Rotherham, as I said, that hotel housing asylum seekers was targeted very clearly, and police are using this footage to go and make more arrests. And they're saying, if you were there, we will find you, we will come knocking on your door. And what we've had this morning is this emergency meeting that has just finished, that was chaired, we understand, by the Prime Minister himself, Keir Starmer.
Right. So this emergency response meeting being held today, what more has come out of that?
Well, we don't know. Good question, but we're waiting for that readout. What we're hearing is, apart from the full support that the government has reiterated in the last 5-6 days from the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, also Yvette Cooper, to the police, apart also from extra protection being given, for example, to mosques if and when they request it. What we're hearing is that there could be a decision, as we wait for this readout, to name and shame people who are charged and found guilty, whether it's of arson or even of attempted murder, for example, against those 2 asylum-seeking hotels that were targeted. That was a tactic that was employed back in 2011 when there were riots then. What we're also getting is a recall for Parliament. It's a small number of MPs, whether they are Conservative, some Labour MPs, and indeed a man that will be familiar to our viewers, Nigel Farage, who has made a statement. He is, of course, the Reform UK leader, now elected MP for Clacton. And he has said that really there's a deep, longer-term problem that remains here. He says the majority of our population can see the fracturing, I'm quoting, of our communities as a result of what he calls mass uncontrolled immigration, whether legal or illegal. And he says that it is absolutely essential to debate this in Parliament. Of course, we had an election just over a month ago, and this new Prime Minister, Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who is facing what is a very real tense and problematic situation. That, as I said, a small number for now, but we have to see, as members of Parliament here in Westminster are on holiday, what is called recess, whether those calls for MPs to come back and debate this in Parliament goes ahead. So a very tense situation as we await seeing what new measures have been decided and what was discussed at what is called this emergency meeting, COBRA meeting.
Benedicte, thank you for that. Benedicte Paviot in London.